fanatic named Richy. And I'd like to thank this region for having selected and invited me to come and share my experience, strength, and hope. I've never been to Texas before. Keep coming back. And don't worry about the band. My accent. I'd like to thank God, and I say this with much gratitude, because my recovery today has been expressed and moved in a lot of ways. I come out of the greater New York region of Narcotics Anonymous. I got clean in Brooklyn, New York. That's where I live. My clean date is June 5, 1985. I haven't found a reason to use since. And my home group is the ultimate weapon group of Narcotics Anonymous. Yeah. And we meet on a Sunday night at 6:30. It's a 2-hour step meeting. We give the speaker 45 minutes to share on a step. Because it's a serious group. Because it's a serious disease. And it's a serious recovery. I'd like to thank the people that I've met here thus far, and the committee, and also Harold P., who happens to be a friend of mine, and his wife Mita. We lost a good brother when he came to Texas from the East Coast, but I'm sure God put him in the right place. You know, he needs to be here. And my sponsee Drew, my road buddy. You know, we travel a lot. I've been traveling a lot. Somebody asked me today if I was nervous. And I'm not being arrogant, but I'm not nervous. Why should I be nervous to share about the thing I love the most, Narcotics Anonymous? You know, I get nervous when I'm about to do something wrong. Right? Not something good. See? And yeah, I come up with my books, and Letty was saying, well, you know, I've seen you with a book before. I said, well, look, a lot of things have transpired. Letty happens to be a very dear friend of mine from way back. And God has brought us, I guess, this weekend to recommit, you know, a friendship that's been for quite some time. And I love you very much, Letty. I brought up basic text, and it works how and why. And for me, that's the program. You know, and I'm not about a war story tonight. You know, I started in 1962, and I stopped in 85. I was 7 years on the methadone program. I was a frequent visitor of Rikers Island and the Brooklyn House of Detention. You know, and that's the war story. So I believe that the battle begins after you get clean. Right? You know? And, you know, I had to face a lot of dilemmas when I was out there. But I had to face them, and I was medicated when I did this. See, after getting clean and having some things happen to you, you know, are you armed with the reality to face, you know, trials and tribulations of life? You know, I got close with God. And I need to share that, and I'm not a Bible thumper or any of that kind of stuff. It's a God of my understanding that I've came to meet in the steps of Narcotics Anonymous and through desperate situations. Right? Because this only works when you're in desperation. See? You know, it's a sad place to be incarcerated when you got time in the program. And I'm not talking about penitentiary time. I'm talking about being locked and loaded in a fixed idea, being incarcerated in your own mind and clean. And then when we talk about it, having the key in your back pocket, and you don't use it to let yourself out. That's a sad place to be. And I've been there time and time and time again, not using. But then again, I need to re-question that. I want to read some things out of this book. And the reason why I do that is I want to explain something. It's not because I want to look better than anybody else or maybe I got something a little more than anybody. First of all, I'm not that smart. I ain't that slick. You know? If I got to tell you a story, I'll tell you a James Bond story. You know, and all this kind of stuff. And it wasn't like that at all for me. So I try to, you know, I'm going to tell you something. The people have failed me in many areas. But the book never lied. And every time something was about to take place, or did take place, and I went to my literature or was directed to go to the literature, it always wound up that I found a solution. And most of the time it tells me that I need to go to my higher power. See? So, you know, in here, I want to read something when we talk about using. The disease of addiction can manifest itself in a variety of mental obsessions and compulsive actions that have nothing to do with drugs. Right? Well, we're talking about, wait a minute, I shot dope for a long time. I was in the hustle for a lot of years. And you don't have to be a woman to prostitute in this place. Because I prostituted plenty when I was on the street. Always sold myself short. But it's a sad place to be, to sell myself short after I got some time and after I try to put myself in a level of awareness to kind of see that there's a right path here. And that takes time. See? It takes experience. If you have no pain, you've got no experience. Because the experience comes through living some pain. And the unfortunate part of that is that most of the time, I create the crisis. See? I put myself in a dilemma or a jackpot. Because on a daily basis, I make conscious decisions to do the wrong thing. Not the right thing. Because I like living on the edge. You know? I like living in a place that, you know, maybe I might get caught. Right? I like to go to places where, and it don't have to be that big, but sometimes you got to wonder if you're going to come out of this situation and come out clean. And not be painted in a corner where you can't make, no. But see, I've been around long enough to understand that every time I went to God, right? Every time I was told to go to God, because when you're in the midst of a storm, there's no clarity on God. It ain't about the third step. It isn't about all this stuff, let it go. You know, just let it go. You know, that don't happen like that. Because when the shit hits the fan, it's like, you know, I'm locked and loaded in a chaos. See? And that's when the program needs to be worked. That's when my network shows up. And I've got a strong network. And I have a network that believes in believing in God. And believes in Narcotics Anonymous. And they believe in sponsorship. The importance of sponsorship. Not in name only. See? Talking about taking direction. If you want to have some clean time, and you want to have some quality clean time, you need to take direction. Because direction will allow you some longevity. And I always have to remember that the first time I got clean, right? The first time when they told me, you know, it was around 90 days, and I didn't know, you know, I was in the meetings, and I couldn't understand what was happening. And everybody was sharing all kinds of stuff and smiling and doing all kinds of, and I wanted to know why didn't I feel like that? Or why didn't I act like what was going on here? What did I miss? I'm here 3 months, right? Where's mine? Right? And somebody came up to me and told me, hey man, why don't you ask God for help? Now, I didn't come here for none of that. See? And I didn't bother to read what we have in the back of the room on the wall, where it says, we admitted that we were powerless over our addiction. I came with a drug problem, man. I don't know what you're talking about. But when we talk about an addiction, we're talking about a disease that's relentless. And it has no conscience. It has no area to, like Carol was sharing this afternoon. It comes uninvited, without my permission. It just comes and tells me stuff. And it tells me stuff in my own voice. Right? Don't come in Harold's voice or Drew's voice. It comes me talking to myself. And am I in a situation, am I at a level where I can start not listening to it? Because my disease used to dictate to me on a daily basis of what I needed to do and what I didn't need to do. See? So when you fall short, after being here a while, clean time means a lot. But quality means a lot. You can't stick and stay if you don't get to the steps. You don't get no clean time. See? And I had to get down with the fact of learning who I am, what I'm all about, what I like and what I don't like. Where should I be? Where shouldn't I be? And I have to take guidance and be monitored on a daily basis. See? And that's how this works. We're talking about an idea, right? To change our perception of reality, than to change reality. We must give up old concepts and face the fact that reality and life go on. Right? Whether we choose to accept them or not, we can only change the way we react and the way we see ourselves. See, I never wanted to look at Richy C. We're talking about being a little boy. That stuff now touches the... Hey, you're looking at a guy who was molested when he was a young man. Right? By a male cousin. See? So my perception of having a relationship and having sex was bizarre from Jump Street. It was never given to me on a table or told in a loving way or shown to me. I was the only child. Right? My parents didn't use, but they had the disease. My mother never took a drink or smoked a cigarette in her life. But she got the attitude. My mother knows the disease quite well. See? And after 25 years of my mom and dad being... hey, you know what? It was my dad in the beginning, and then at the end of that, it was my uncle who I had to call my dad. So we're talking about some serious stuff as a young man. Because you're looking at a single parent. You're looking at a man who's raising his children. My daughter's 9 and my boy is 8. In 1987, I was married. My wife left me with the kids and was clean 3 years at the time. See? So, you know, on a daily basis, I have to stay very close with my God. I have to stay very close with people who are doing this. Because I have no instruction on how to raise children. But I've been doing it for 6.5 years now. And what has taken place in my house is a relationship that I can't even begin to explain to you. Because every time I lose sight of God, all I have to do is look in the eyes of my children. And I see it. Why? Because I teach them God. Why? Because we embrace at night and we say, thank you, God, for a good day. Right? We go to school in the morning. I bring them. See? I take them out. I take them to the doctor. I bring them to the dentist. When they're sick at night and it's storming in New York, I roll in bed with them and tell them it's okay. You're looking at somebody who was rootless. I wasn't hey, look, now I'm not going to say I was a shoot 'em up, but you want to know something? I didn't give a shit about nobody. I didn't care about nobody and no one. And whatever you had, I was getting it if I wanted it. And however I had to do it, I did it. See? And that was it. And it was always heads up. And God saw fit to take me out of those situations and to bring me to a place like this. Because God only chooses the bottom of the barrel to carry the message. You ought to scrape your knees and bump your head a few times around here. See? That's where the man... I'm not impressed on how much you used. Who cares, man? Or how much prison time you did good time. There ain't no good time. Time is time no matter how you look at it. Door locks at night. That's it, man. You ain't incarcerated in this place. There's no bars on these windows. But why sometimes I choose to live like I live like I'm in prison? Right? What brings me to a place that you know what, when you get too close to me, don't get too close to me. Because if you get real close, you just may learn to like me or love me or bring me to a place. You understand? And you know what? I have to find a situation to remove you out of my space. That's why, you know, most of the time, all the bad relationships were the right relationships. Because they gave me a lesson to how to have a relationship now. A good one. I'm not in one. But I'm looking. So what we're talking about here, you know, because don't have a relationship in the front. Hey, look, man, me and the guys, I'm sponsored 14 men, okay? And somebody told me one time a while back, he said, any more than two is ego. I said, well, I wasn't taught that. See, I give my time. They don't take my time. See? And the other part of that is that, hey, the more people you put in your life, the further it takes you away from wanting to use. Yep. Right? So, you know, and I was taught right. I was weaned with a pen, and I was weaned with praying and understanding. And you know what? Because I came here with nothing. See? I didn't come with no gold chains and cars and driver's licenses. No, I didn't. I came with nothing. Towels over the window. Half bottles of water, glasses in my mother's basement. You know, that kind of stuff. But I always had a belief in me that I would never, ever, you know what? I always believed that there was a God. But I could never display my feelings about God until I came to Narcotics Anonymous. And that's why I stand up here with conviction, that I could say this stuff. Because if you got a problem with it, it's your problem. See? You know, and I only learned that in here. And I don't put a name on my God up here. But the bottom line is that I have one. And I believe in Him. And also, I have to know, not only to believe in God, I got to know the God I believe in. So when we talk about an 11th step, I need to share where I'm at. You know, I'm not going to share. I don't claim newcomer status. You know, a lot of people they think this is a humble thing to do. After 20 years or 12 years, you know, well, you know, yeah, I'm still a newcomer. Well, shame on you, man. You want to walk around here saying you're a newcomer? There's something wrong with that, man. Because I believe that once we start to investigate and apply the steps, we don't cure, but we do get better. We get better. Right? The only thing I have is reference. I was faced with situations clean that I never thought I'd get out of. When my wife left, I was diagnosed with hepatitis C, right? I had to hold on to the kids, my children now, not nobody else's. They were mine. I made them, I'm raising them. See? And you know what? I shout that real loud. And I had a man approach me at a convention one day and told me, listen, you need to keep that on a low tip. That you keep shouting that stuff about you and your kids that you went to the court and got full custody. I said, why? What'd you do with yours, man? Huh? What'd you do with yours? You know, me as a man, I stand very proud. I'm a good dad. I'm a good dad. I learned how to share with my children. I learned how to believe in God with my kids. When my children go to school in the morning, I give them more food than they're supposed to go with. Because, you know, a lot of kids, they forget their lunch. And I'm in the sharing process, Harold. I'm learning how to do things in a service. It's not a service of NA. I've held every service position outside of the world service positions in my region, board of director, and right now I'm a board of trustee for New York, right? All this stuff, groups and speaking all over the country and all this kind of stuff. But the service that I've learned in the time that I'm clean is service to God and my fellow human beings, right? This is what it's at. It's about serving. Who am I serving? See? And when you get to that place, you'll understand. If you're not there, we're waiting. Right? We're waiting. You'll get there soon enough. Because I'm learning about potential. right? And this is how I always used to look at the women in my life. I used to try to find potential. See? But I was sharing with Harold today in a hallway, and we were talking about the yearning, right? We're talking about the yearning. I'm in position right now. I got something to bring to the table. And it ain't nothing, it ain't in my lower extremity. All right? We're talking about getting with somebody in companionship, right? And sharing and being able not to be so self-centered, right? And understanding what the disease is all about. And learning how to listen, and listen to learn, and learn to listen. That everybody has a message. That sometimes, you know what, my mother got a great message. Because let me tell you, I was with somebody a while back, and I thought it was it. And I put every bit of my emotion and my feeling in this. And we're talking about having time. See? And we're talking about someone who wasn't in the program, and who didn't drink, and who didn't smoke, and didn't do none of that stuff. Okay? And I say smoking, I bring that up, because I don't smoke. And I didn't wear no patch, and I didn't go to no doctor. I used God. I got 11 years without a cigarette. Right? Didn't get too many claps on that one. But that's all right. Keep coming back. So the bottom line here was that I got so engrossed and in love, right? The true romantic that I am, Italian boy from Brooklyn. You know, we could be very romantic at times, right? So that whole scene, and you know, I was getting ready to lock and load to get married again. That's how I felt. But I was the only one in the relationship. See? And when we talk about potential, right? We're talking about waiting for somebody to get somewhere where we think they should be. Not about what God puts in your life. Waiting on that. And that does happen because you know what? There are healthy relationships in this fellowship. I have friends that have healthy relationships in this fellowship. I see it. I go in their home. It isn't about what we say. It's about how you're living. How you living, man? Right? We're talking about the message. What is the message? Message is about when I started using and not, you know, no. The message is when I started to get clean. The message is about sharing about how I get over the struggles. Can I weather the storm? Can I hold on and not go and use? And learn and understand that I use because I choose to use. Whatever it may be. I was never tied to a lamppost in Brooklyn back in 1962 and somebody shoved the glue. Oh, by the way, my starter drug, I was a glue sniffer. I don't know if you don't know, you know about that? Right. You ain't copping. Everybody looks like this. Nobody wants to talk about the glue days. You know, glue all over me, man. Right? Testers glue. 10 cents a tube. Cheap high. But anyway, you know, what we're talking about here is that how many times I gotta do the things that I do, see, and wonder how I got there. And with this lady, when she walked out of my life, I fell into a depression. It put me right back on the street. We're talking about somebody with some time, not talking about going to shoot dope, about suicide. Anybody can identify with sitting in the chair with the light out and not moving. My kids, you know, I was reneging on the responsibility with my children. My mother, I didn't want nothing to do with her. The phone would ring and the answering machine would pick it up. And all I'd do was look at it. And I'd sit there and contemplate. One more time. Should you use or should you kill yourself? See? And I said the disease would have its mercy on me. And keep me in the street for a long time. And I don't want to do that. I want to go out quick. See? So various things took place. I went back to the scene and I sat in the rain for about 6 hours. And there was the rail right there. And I said to myself, what do I do? You know? I felt like there was no program left. It wasn't about step work. And I did all this stuff. I did all this writing and all this praying. And it wasn't about asking God. It was about me asking my disease. Give me the choice. Because I don't want to live no more. And you know what? And then woe was me. What took place is everything that I could possibly think of to put my self-esteem lower than it was that night, it started to go into play. See? And everything was just shooting at me and telling me all kinds of stuff. Well, you know, it doesn't matter anyway, man. You ain't worth it. You're a piece of garbage. Don't talk about, you know, and all kinds of voices were coming at me in my own voice. See? And only but through God's grace and God's mercy did I realize that I needed to remove myself from that place. See? And I did. And you want to know something? Everybody has a storm coming. Everybody has a storm coming. You just sit around here a while, not use, and you'll see. Some things will be confronted with you, and you have to take a good question and a good look at what your relationship with God is. What not your service commitment ain't going to keep you clean. You can have 10,000 service commitments. That's not going to keep you clean. You can have 29 sponsors. You ain't calling your sponsor when you're in the rage of a storm. I'm talking about a rage. I'm talking about locked and loaded in a position where you're suspended and out of, you're just there, man. You don't know where to go. That's a scary place. I didn't know what to do. I'm a guy that sometimes can have all the answers. We're talking about I didn't have no answers to none of the solution. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know even how to approach something or get it out. And you're like, well, I identify so much because, you know what? I'm one to share the truth about how I'm living. I'll share about my house. I see your message, how you're living. Not what you tell me. See? I'm talking about, you know, the kids didn't matter no more. And let me tell you something. I love my children. I love my children dearly. I am a good dad. I sit with my kids and talk with them and teach them. See? I show them on a daily basis what it is about life. I lost the lust for life. Being clean. Like 9 years. See? And it don't count on my... You know, the reference points were something else because early recovery, it was somebody else that... You know, and I had to take a look at my situations of why I have a bad selection process. Why do I try to reach unemotional, unavailable women? Why do I always go to a place that I take a look and you know what? It's got no substance or character. Right? We're talking about, hey, you know what? I got substance and character. So I can recognize substance and character. Why don't I see a mirror image? Why don't I look, why don't I go for the unreachable? Something that, you know what, may cause me harm. No, not may. I know will cause me harm. Right? We're talking about, why can't I take something that's close, that's attainable? Why can't I make a smart decision? Right? What does it take, man? What's happening? We're talking about 6 and 7 step work. Right? We're talking about taking a look. How willing are you to recover? Why? You don't have to keep repeating the same mistake. Right? We're talking about, hey, you know, asking God for help one more time. See? God has never failed at his responsibility at taking care of me since the day I walked in this program. Never. Anytime I ever called on God, he showed up. Even when I was using, or I would not be here tonight. We're talking about being watched and looked over, being chosen to be in this room this evening. Right? We're talking about that you will look every time you pray for the last bag. It was one more bag to get you here. Right? We're talking about saying a prayer to get me out of jail. And you're out and you're free and you're here. Right? Everybody asks us. There ain't nobody screaming doorknob up in the emergency room of the hospital. be about doorknobs and radiators, and it could be whatever you want it to be. Yeah, well, somebody takes my chair. Where's my God? No, come on, man. It's about, getting there, and you only get there when you do the 6 and 7 step work, and have the experience in the 8th step. Not just to write the 8th step, but to look at the 8th step and see where you caused the harm. Right? We're talking about we caused some harm. And I say past tense, but what about right now? Going outside the relationship, right? Taking things that don't belong to you. Doing all kinds of things to know that, to interrupt your spirit. Right? Your spirit, my spirit is alive and well tonight. Because I'm going to tell you something. I came down here feeling good. I came, it's been a good time in my recovery. You see? And even like today, when Mina approached me, she says, I heard that you're doing well. That's good stuff. Because, you know what? Good news travels quick, too. You need to pick and choose the people who you need to have in your life around here. Not everybody's here for the same reason, unfortunately. You understand? I don't care. You invited me. How many times you gotta feel like you're in enemy territory without a weapon? Huh? Talking about no bullets, no guns in you, no guns, no bullets in your gun. How do you handle this, man? How do you go there, man? What do you do? We're talking about, that's right. We keep this miracle alive with ongoing recovery with positive attitudes. Check this out. Some things we must accept. Others we can change. The wisdom to know the difference comes with growth in our spiritual program. Right? If we maintain our spiritual condition daily, we find it easier to deal with the pain and the confusion. We're talking about it's a spiritual disease that demands a spiritual solution. Right? Real easy. We could go to meetings and we could see the addict and the literature and all this stuff, right? But where do we find God? How do we get this God thing when we're so resistant, right? So rebellious. Well, it talks about it in We Do Recover, or just for today, rather. It says that when talk of God repels the newcomer. That's okay. It's supposed to do that. If the book says it, it's supposed to do that. Right? So what? Look, I'm going to tell you. Hey, look. Let's get this straight. I don't go nowhere else for this. All right? I don't. And I ain't here to cause no shit with nobody, or to start debates and all that kind of stuff. But I got clean in NA. And I stayed in NA. And I still continue to go to NA. And I work this program. See? And that's for me. I stand on conviction with the fact that Narcotics Anonymous is a great healer. And it's a great road and direction to get you to God. See, because what do you have spiritual in your life? What's going on, man? How do you stay clean without a connection with a higher power? If you work in step, hey look, the 3rd step mentions God. Right? The 5th step mentions God. The 6th step, the 7th step. Right? The 11th step. The 2nd tradition. We're talking about a major part of the program. So on a consistent basis, I need to feed my spiritual welfare, spiritual development. That's what this is about. Being spiritually fit. Because when you're spiritually fit, you can handle all that you're confronted with. All that you're confronted with. Right? God has a way of sending the messages. Because I'll tell you, when I was sitting in that dilemma, the soldiers came. They came because there was a time when I fed half these people, and now I was unable to give anything. And they came to me and gave it back. And they're talking and they walk in the name of a spiritual direction. So I got no time to be with people that want to be in confusion. All right? Because the bottom line here is that the disease loves confusion. Right? And we're talking about that if the disease has you in confusion, maybe you just may make the decision to go that way. So it'll keep you there. It'll keep you confused, and you're not understanding what's happening. I need to have some guidance and direction about, I got men that believe in this program. They believe in God. They walk and row in the same direction. See? That's where I go. That's what happened to me the last 4 or 5 years. You know, I got Ron H. in my life. You see, Ron H. I sponsor Ron H. And I love him dearly. And he's a believer and an understander of what this disease is about. And he's a good man, and Thomas P. And all my sponsees. This is my network. See, and Tony D. back in New York, who we speak daily, twice a day. See, and things have changed. There's no pain in change. The pain is in not changing. Right? Thomas taught me that. And that's the bottom line. What it is about having character and building your spirit to a level that when you walk in the room, they know something's going on. You don't even have, that's why it says that clean time speaks for itself. They talk about, it's about traction rather than promotion. What are you looking at? How are you seeing people? We are each brother's keeper. Some of us choose not to do that. Right? Some of us choose to walk with the underpower. Hold on. Wait a minute. We're talking about in the third step, it talks about how you turned your life on a consistent basis over to an under-destructive power. We got more practice at that than the higher power. That's why we need more willingness and understanding to go towards something. Hey, listen, if you got, you know, the question here is that how long you want to stay clean and how wealthy do you want to be in your life? In spirit. Right? I don't have no Ferraris in my driveway, but my spirit is wealthy. Wealthy, man. I put my head on a pillow at night. I kiss and love my children. It's an open door, an open house, a house of love and God going on in my house. Right? We're talking about sharing meals. It's not about a black addict or a white addict or a gay addict or an HIV addict or a Spanish addict. Right? We're talking about addicts in recovery, embracing and loving one another. Right? And holding each other tight. Because we are people that were met with the same catastrophe. See? We all had a painful situation. That's what happened here. It's not about, well, you know what, I only smoked reefer. What do you mean you only smoked reefer? People that I know smoke reefer smoke 60 joints a day. But they only smoke reefer. You know what I mean? You don't have to stick a needle in your arm. Your pain is the worst pain. You lived it. Right? It's your pain. It's what got you here. It's what brought you in. It was an intervention somewhere down the line. And there'll always be an intervention. Because we'll always wake up one day stupid. And do something stupid. See, that's why there's a 10th step. That's why we need to continuously take a look. And if I can't do it, you got to do it for me. Constructive criticism. Telling me, hey, you know what? You're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. I got men that close in my life that know when I'm about to do something. Right? We're talking about being understood, right? We've begun to see that God's will for us is the ability to live with dignity. Right? To love ourselves and others to laugh and to find great joy and beauty in our surroundings. Right? Well, our most heartfelt longings and dreams for our lives are coming true. Right? We're talking about these priceless gifts are no longer beyond our reach. They are, in fact, the very essence of God's will for us. How do you deny that? See? How do you deny that? We talk about God is great. Right? We're talking about being filled with a spirit that ignites you, that wants you to approach life with love and zest. I get up in the morning, right, and I tell God, thank you for a good day. Thank you for a great day. See? And I go on, and I take care of my kids, and I go on to work, and I go, and I'll bring you up to date now. I'll give you here and now hit. Right? I come to report to Texas Right? I give you the report, the update. The update, right? The update is at 10 years clean, right? I had to go on welfare. Now hold on now, this is some serious stuff, because we're talking about somebody who was living in dignity. See? And it was between a gun or the welfare line. Because I only know to go one way when I can't get what I want. See? And it was about my children. And I put out resumes. I had lost my job, right, from somebody who had hired me in the fellowship. Okay? And, you get close to people. You start to go where people go and go in their house, and you start to see how they live. And sometimes it isn't what you think it is. Right? Right? And I lost my job. And I lost my job, and I said I'll be all right, because I'll just get another one. But it wasn't that easy. God had a plan for me. God said, you need to be in a struggle right now. Right? You need to learn something. You need to learn something, Richie. And I put some resumes, and nobody was biting. And I put some more, and it added up to about 45 of them. And I had to go down and speak with somebody. And I spoke to some of my sponsees, and they told me, you know what, man, you need to go on welfare. I said, I'm not doing that. You know? I said, I got too much pride for that. I've never been on welfare in my life. Well, you need to use it for what it's really needed for right now. You know, and I had to go down there. And I got it. And I stayed on it for about a year and a half. And a year and a half, I felt like I lost all my dignity. I didn't want nobody to know I was doing this. I didn't want to tell anybody. And I didn't. See? And I was going around and going to different places and doing what I needed to do, but still feeling really, really bad inside. That to the point it got to that I felt disgraceful. All right? Now, this may not mean a whole lot to somebody, but for me, it meant a whole lot. You know? And I had to, finally, God saw fit for me to get a job. Now, I've been working on this job for about 8 months now. And when we talk about learning who people are that are in your life, we're talking about these people on this job are good people. You know, and they see and believe in me more than sometimes I could believe in myself. See? And what they do for me is that they know that I have a connection somewhere. They know that in my life I live honestly, because I bring to the table thoughts about my children. You know, I'm very open with this stuff because I got nothing to hide. I don't hide no more. I stand with conviction on the way I'm living, and I give the credit to God, who deserves all the credit, who said to me that I needed to be in the forum of Narcotics Anonymous to be directed to something spiritual. That it's in here that you showed me the way, that you continue to show me the way. I must never forget that. I must never think that I'm in control, because when I'm in control, I'm in trouble. See? I have to relinquish that stuff. I have to really let God's will be His will. And how do you do that? You just leave things alone. Right? I just can't step out of the way sometimes. I got to architect the day. I got to know this. I got to know everything. I can't just sit back and let God be God and do what I need to do and just make sure that, you know what, if I do things that way, things will just happen the right way. Why? Because it's always happened before. See? I'm talking about going to work, right, last week, and my director in the facility that I work sent me in place of him to sit on a board. Now let me tell you what happened. I said, you really want me to go? And he said, yeah. I went to this place and sat on this board, this meeting, and the director of the entire thing asked me to take a walk with him after that. Now he approached me and told me, listen, have you ever considered wanting to work in this facility, in this other facility, which is connected with the same facility, but it's closer to my house. It's more money, and it's got a title. All right? Now I'm walking with this guy. I'm feeling real good with this guy. I'm looking up at him like, yeah, you know. All right? You know. I said, boy, am I glad Caesar sent me here. Right? So he said to me, he said, well, you know what? I'm going to recommend you. Okay? I'm going to recommend you. And would you be interested? And I said, oh, sure I'm interested. I said, you know, I'm a single parent with 2 children. More money? Okay. Let's go. You know. I went in, I seen the director of that facility, I went back. Now listen, I don't pull no shade on nothing, man. I pulled one of the guys out and said, what do I do when I go back to my... He says, well, I don't know about that. I said, wait a minute. Wait a minute, what do you mean you don't know about that? You told me when I started here, right, that you're looking out for my best interest. You told me that as long as I'm honest on the job, and do what I need to do, and I do everything you tell me to do, on time, right? And I'm clean for a certain period of time, because everybody in the place says they're clean, but I put that in question. I put it in question, you know? I said, but you know how I'm living. Well, I have to find out about that. Now, he went to the managing director. At the end of the day, he called me into his office. And he said to me, I'm sorry, but I can't let you go on that interview. I said, well, wait a minute now. You can't stop me. But what you're telling me is that if I go, you're going to make a phone call, and I'm not going to get the job. Because that's just what happened with that situation. So you want to keep me here. He said, look, I don't want to hold you down, but we need you here. Hold on. We need you here. I'm not the director, I'm just somebody in there. I don't want to say nothing to break no traditions, but I'm a worker there. I'm a good worker. I do my job. I do it well. And he knows it. See? He said, we need you here. For now. I told you in time. And he did tell me that when I said, because right away, you know, you want to jump, you want to be manager. Without the work to get there. You know, and I was sitting there, and you know what, I know something, I started crying. Because I felt like, I've never been put in a position where somebody approached and wanted me to do something, or promotion, and I was never in positions like that. You know, and I felt like so good, and so good about myself, and I felt like he tore it down, but then I understood. Check it out now, when we talk about communication, right? Well, to better the communication with God, I believe that God was speaking to me in that office that day and telling me, you know what? You need to stay a little longer before you get your dues here. See? And that's how I look at the situation. Like it says, it's the way we perceive stuff. You know? And that's what took place. So now, what's happening with me is that I'm going to stay and I'm going to do my work even harder. Right? And I've been put in the position that, you know what? The girl that was the manager over me left. See? And I was assistant manager. So now maybe I don't have to go somewhere else. You see, God has a strange way. You'll never be in tune with this unless you've got a belief system now. You can never be in tune with this unless you can believe or understand that there's a spiritual force, there's a spiritual experience that happens why it changes the day's events. That I had nothing to do with that. See? Like I had nothing to do with getting clean. Like you have nothing to do with keeping me clean. Like I have nothing to do with going to get somebody and getting them clean. I believe that I'm a messenger. I believe that I'm a hard worker for a spiritual development. I believe that this is a divine operation. I believe that we're all here to learn and understand the steps so that we can carry this message sufficiently. We're talking about sufficient message. I'm not talking about on the fence message. I'm not talking about like, just saying stuff to try to impress people. I'm talking about letting the ego go and becoming, humility is the absence of arrogance. Talking about in a humble state. You know, people go, well, you know, there's this dude where I live that's real, like, quiet. And they go, he's real humble. Well, I beg to differ. I beg to differ. I know humble people that are very, very, very loud, and they shout a lot of stuff real loud. I find that to be humble. I find it to be humble that if you're carrying the message of Narcotics Anonymous and you reach one person in the room, no matter how you're doing it, you did your job. Right? I want to close down, and what I'd like to say is I had put this in my book that people with low self-esteem will always find a way to short-circuit or sabotage any rewarding relationship. This is a program of relationships. Not about not having one. You know, everybody wants to say, you know, don't get involved. You know, and all this kind of stuff. You know, it's a thin line there. It's a thin line because I have a relationship with my family. I have a relationship with you. I have a relationship with my mom and dad. A relationship with my job and my friends and people on my job. A relationship with God. Why only that other one relationship you don't want me to have? How come? There's someone for everybody.
Yes, man.
Huh? We're talking about wherever you read that. And you know, anybody in here, and they talk about that celibacy stuff and all this crazy. I mean, how sick are you, man? Oh, man. I'm telling that somebody come up to me like, you know, you need to be celibate. I said, for what? I ain't getting nothing now. What the fuck I gotta be celibate for? Hey man, my sponsor said invite God into your sex life. Oh, hey, wait a minute. That's where it's at. In all areas of our lives. We don't eliminate God. Ain't a part-time God. Right? Right? Ain't part-time work. It's about full-time God. Full-time. Even when I'm fucking up. See? Because I was reading something before we came here, and I was reading about being recommended to become part. I want to leave it with this because you invited me to Texas, and I'm grateful and I'm gracious to come down here. You know, and a little story with that was I'm afraid to fly. Hold on, I am. I got a fear of flying. I do it, but I don't like doing it. I like the least amount of planes I got to get on to get there. Because I know that when God calls me, I got to show up. I don't want to fuck with God. So I said, all right, I'm coming. I spoke with Michael J. And Michael J. said, don't worry. You know, this big lighted up personality on the phone. Don't worry, we'll get you down here. I said, okay, but let me know how I'm coming. You know? And he said, well, you get on it, we'll get you the plane and don't worry about it. What he didn't tell me was that when we got on the plane, it was okay, you know, but the second plane. And the second plane had propellers on it. And I said to Drew, I don't know if I want to hug him or kick his ass when I say it. Right? They drove us out, they put us on a tram, right? We got on this thing, I had nobody driving it, right? So what is it? It felt like the Jetsons. Going on this thing, right? Talking to you and shit. Then we got out, we got on it. Then they took us on a bus and drove us out to the airfield. I said, this is serious, man. This is serious. And the guy was moving the propeller and stuff. I said, holy shit, I've seen this stuff in the movies. I said, I can't believe I'm getting on this thing. Right? But then again, God showed up. God showed up. There was a lady, a little old lady, man. She was sitting on the other side, and And she seen our dilemma. I mean, we were like, you know, all fucked up. Look like we did like a dirty coke, man. Like we just all wired up like we were like this, you know. He said, listen, relax, right? Took charge of the situation immediately. Sit down, just sit down, you know. And we did, and it wasn't so bad. But I gotta tell you something. I'm thinking about tomorrow. Don't look too good out there right now. I couldn't open the door, get out of the hotel. Oh man, you don't know. And there was a doctor, there was a guy on the plane in front of us, and he turned around and he said to me, he says, you think this is bad? Don't fly in this thing when it's windy out. Or I may just be staying a spell. Yeah. All right, look. I want to thank Texas, right? For 4 years in celebration of carrying the message, right? It ain't over. We're gonna party, right? Right? Or take back much more than I brought here. That's for sure. When I go back to New York, you know, if we get back to New York, things look a little grim right now. And you know, I hope my spirit touched you. You know, because your spirit has definitely touched mine. You know, I'm an addict named Richy and I love you.